share my screen really quickly. Okay. So just confirm that you can see my screen.
We can't see your screen. Yes.
You can't?
Okay. Yeah, we can see it now. It's fine now.
Oh, brilliant. All right, cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, awesome. So I'm grateful that this session is going to be recorded because I'm going to go really quickly. And I'm going to put a lot of information on here. You're going to hear a lot of information, but please don't be overwhelmed. Take it easy. Take what you can get now. It's going to be recorded. So that's why I actually put in a lot of text so that when you're looking at the recording, you can read or go through the information that has been given here. But for those who are going to stay onto the internship, even though I'm going to touch on one of the core topics of business analysis, I'll do an intro and I'll do one of the core topics. It's just going to be a bite size for this evening. But when you come onto the internship, then we're going to go in depth. So please, please, please don't be overwhelmed. If you have any questions, you can write them down, drop them in the chat. We're going to have a session for questions toward the end of the session as well. So looking forward to the session, and I hope you get value out of it as well. Okay. So just an overview of what you're going to learn, what we're going to talk about for the introduction. I'm just going to explain what business analysis is, who a business analyst is, who can become an analyst, what kind of traits they have, and for those that are coming onto the course, the gains you will have. And I just want to do that just to explain some of the benefits, just like they put a banquet in front of you, and this is not even the appetizer. This is the thing before the appetizer. So I just want to kind of give you a bit more insight into how the course will go, especially if you are taking on the role of a business, you're learning about becoming a business analyst. You're going to learn a lot as well. Okay, so pro tip, and it's not just for business analysis, it's for everything you're going to hear. Get a personal glossary. Yeah, we call it a jargon buster. You're going to hear a lot of terms, technical terms. And while I'll try to explain what they are, you actually need to familiarize yourself with these terms because that's the language of technology or of the profession. So that's how people know that you are a good software tester, you're a good Scrum Master, you're a good BA, when you speak the language. Accountants, lawyers, doctors, they all have their own language. So get yourself a personal glossary where you list the terms you're going to hear, new terms you haven't heard before, or terms that are that pertain to the role, and then you just write what the definition is, so you understand what it is, okay? And you remind yourself. And the more you hear, the more you complete your personal glossary. But even as BAs, we use this, so I'm just using this for your own personal knowledge as well. All right, let's go on. So what is business analysis? Yeah, it's a process of identifying what a business needs are, understanding how a business works, what its processes are, and then recommending solutions to improve business performance. Yeah, it's about identifying what the needs and the problems of a business are, but you're not just identifying it just so you know. You want to know how to solve it, which is one of the reasons business analysts are always in demand. Everyone has issues. Businesses have issues. So when you find someone who is going to look at your particular business, identify what its needs are. What does this business need to grow? What issues is this business having? And then how can we solve it? Then that person is worth their weight in gold, really. So that's what business analysts do. We identify the business needs and problems. We will analyze the requirements for change. Okay, I'm going to explain what requirements are. That's basically what we're going to learn a bit more, delve a bit more into at the later part of the intro. But requirements are like, for example, if you want to make a cake, what are the ingredients you need to make that cake? And not just any cake, the particular cake that the person wants. There are many different kinds of cakes. So if someone says, I want a cake, you're going to say, what kind of cake? What are the ingredients you want? Is it vanilla? Is it chocolate? How many tiers do you want the cake to be? So that's what your requirements are in terms of a business. For that particular business, what are the requirements needed for change? And then once you do that, then you can propose solutions. We're going to that meet stakeholder expectations. I'll explain what a stakeholder is a bit later. Okay, so a business analyst bridges the gap between the business and IT. Most solutions are IT related. They're all technologically related. So if someone says, I have a need for, maybe there's a particular business need, I'll talk a bit more about that later. There's usually an IT component to that solution. And that's where the business analyst comes in. The business analyst understands what the business need is, and then is able to translate that need in a way that the IT, the developer, solution team, project team is able to fulfill those requirements. And that's why the business analyst works very well with QA testers, developers, scrum masters, all of that, because we bridge that gap between the business need and the solution. Okay. And basically, the last line is very important. We make sure that we deliver value. You have to make things better by being there. So you deliver value that is peculiar to that business. So now, who is a business analyst? Okay, a business analyst is someone who does all these things I'm telling you about. Yeah, they get what the requirements are, they interpret it, they document it, they identify who the key people are. We call them stakeholders. So who are the key stakeholders with relation to that particular business need or business problem? Who has an interest in that in that business need? And then what are the products, what are the services, what kinds of software, what kind of data is needed for that solution? Okay, so now there are two bodies. I just put this these definitions here because there are two bodies that govern business analysis. In the UK, it's the British Computer Society, and in the UK, recognized within Europe and the world, but predominantly in the UK is the Business Computer Society, and in the US, in Canada, and in different parts of North America, South America, and the world as well is the 𝐖𝐈𝐓𝐇, the International Institute of Business Analysts. So these are the different solutions. I really like the one for the 𝐖𝐈𝐓𝐇, and I'll tell you why. It says the business analyst is anybody who performs business analysis to help organizations identify and solve business problems. Yeah, anybody. It doesn't say, it's not about the title, it's about the work you do. And that's why when it comes to jobs searching, tailoring your CV, you actually find that in some aspects of the work you've been doing before, you've actually been doing business analysis, but you didn't know that's what you were doing. So once you can identify that, that's why anybody can become a business analyst. Not everyone likes it, but anyone can. There's some people that love it, but anyone can do it. So don't count yourself out if this is what you really want to do. Okay. So again, like I said, for those that are just joining, I'm going really fast, so please excuse me, but you're going to have this recording and all this content to go through at your own pace. Okay, so again, this is just to go a bit deeper into who a business analyst is. A business analyst is a change manager, someone who drives change, who leads change, because for business needs to be resolved, then it has to be change. There has to be transformation. You have to go from where you are to where you want to be, and the business analyst is the person who drives that transformation. Okay, we call ourselves we're the bridge between the business and IT. Okay, so to be a good business analyst, you have to understand the business process. Now, a BA can work in any, if it's a business, a BA can work there, any industry. But in order to do that, you have to understand the business processes. You don't have to understand it before you come in. So regardless of where you are, what your experience is, you can go into a business today with the skills and competencies of a business analyst, and you can learn about that business, learn about the business processes, and do the work you're supposed to do. So don't let any industry intimidate you. You can go in anywhere, use the skills you learn as a business analyst, and do a phenomenal job as a business analyst, okay? But you have to understand what the business processes are in order to do that. That's the analysis. You have to be able to identify the opportunities for improvement, okay? So organizations are so big. Many of them work in silos. They work in their boxes. They work, in their business units. So you have finance, you have HR, you have sales, you have marketing. It's all part of the organization, but they kind of have their own, environment, the way they do things. A business analyst is the person to look at that particular business process and look for like bottlenecks, pain points, areas of improvement. How can we make this thing better? How many people, for example, if there's a process that needs a manager's approval, it goes through 3 or 4 different people before it gets to the manager. Can we make that process a bit more seamless, where the only person who has the authority to sign off on that process is the one who sees it? So rather than 3 or 4 people, we have only one person see that process and is able to sign off on it. Or maybe a business does something manually. Can we automate that process and make it quicker, better, so that the customers have a better experience? And I've talked to you about bridging the gap between business and IT. They speak different languages. A business just says, see, we want to make more money. These are our goals. This is what we want to make our customers happy. IT says, what do you want me to do? If you tell me what to do, I will do it. So it's the BA that says, okay, this is the business need, and they are translating it into technical terms in the way that the IT team is able to develop and deliver that solution and add value to the business. And I talked about being a facilitator of change management. That's who we are. A lot of people are afraid of change. They are, hesitant. I've always done it this way. Why should I change? Is a business analyst that is able to tell you what the opportunities and the benefits are. Your work will be so much better if you do ABCD. So we facilitate change. Okay, so these are just part of what we do. Now, who should be a business analyst? I've already touched on it before. Anybody can be a business analyst. And again, when I talk about all these things, because you may not have had any experience in technology and IT, and you're wondering, okay, all this is great. I can do A, B, C, D, I can do D. How am I going to be able to do it? That has always been my question. How? You can tell me I can climb Mount Everest. Great. How do I do it? Okay. So that's part of what I want to tell you now. Don't worry if you've never had any experience in being a business analyst. There are competencies, skills, techniques, tools that you are given for everything you're asked to do. So when I tell you that as a business analyst, you can walk into any business and use the tools and techniques that you have as a BA to do your work and do it very, very, very well, is because there are already techniques that people have said, if you want to go from here to there, this is the road, this is the vehicle, this is how you do it. Okay. And that's part of what we talk to you about. So these are, again, they're just quotes I just put here, so that you can understand the need for a BA. So it's the ability to think logically and break down complex problems. It's a skill that every BA should have. Just look at something that everyone says, this thing is so complex. There's a saying that says, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So you just see a huge elephant and you're like, oh my God, this is so much. How are we going to do it? Just take it one at a time, break it down. By the time you're done breaking down the issue, everything is simplified. You're like, okay, these are the steps you go through. By the time you go through these steps, you're sorted and you're able to make those recommendations very easily as a BA. So if you're able to think logically, ask the right questions, do the research that is needed, you can do this, no problem at all. Okay, so these are some of the key traits that a BA has. We document a lot. We write things down. People talk and talk and talk. A BA wants to document. So this is what you said, and this is what you said, and this is what you said. And it's very valuable when it comes to things like requirements. When people are saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. As you're getting the information from them, you're documenting it, you're writing it down. So we gather requirements and we document them. We generate reports, we prepare process maps. You know, when someone says, this is how I do my job, we're like, okay, let's take it one at a time. You do A, B, C, D. And by the time we create a visual representation of how they do their work, it's very clear. Everyone can see it. There's no confusion anymore. We can see the whole thing simplified. So a BA needs to enjoy writing. You have to enjoy solving problems. I talked about the complexity of problems. Then you have to love to communicate in clear terms. Yes, the business has terminology that we use, but most of the time we explain what we're saying. That's why I talked about a glossary. Most BAs have glossaries. So when you go into a new business, maybe it's a bank, and they're telling you all the financial terms and everything, a BA is like, okay, great. And they're writing it down. What is AML, anti-money laundering? What is this other one? You know, all these acronyms that people throw around a lot. We just basically recommend them and we document them so that we can, when someone says, what did you mean when you said this? We can explain. So we communicate very clearly. Someone tells us what a requirement is, we simplify it so that everyone understands it. It's very clear. You know, the whole team understands, and then they can use it for their work. We can negotiate. A lot of times you're talking to people and everyone has their own point of view. A BA listens to all the different points, and then they're able to resolve conflicts by negotiation. So a lot of times negotiation skills are really important for a BA. We love processes and, you know, understanding how things work. Yeah, everything runs by a process. Just think about your day. You wake up in the morning, you have a process for getting ready and getting out the door. If you have a job, or maybe you're in school, or whatever it is, you wake up in the morning, you have a shower, you get your dress. Maybe you've set out your clothes the night before, or you're someone that says, okay, I want to see what the day is like before I choose what I'll wear. And then you come out, you know where your bus is, you know where your train is, you know where your car is, you know the route to get to work. All these things are processes. We live by processes, and that's how a BA does. Businesses are run by people, and businesses also have processes. So you come into a place, you have to love saying, okay, what is this particular process? What is the start of the process? What's the end of the process? So these are just some of the key traits we use in business analysis. Again, we know that you won't know them, so you're trained and you're taught and you're able to research a lot of all these things. A BA is creative and innovative. Like I said, we like change. So how can we make this thing better? It's always at the back of our mind. You're not afraid to carry out research. You're not afraid. A lot of times when you're in businesses, as important as people know business analysis is, they may not give us all the time that we need. So you maximize the time you have with the stakeholder you're talking to, but you also have to do your own research. Always go to your meetings prepared, because you've researched ahead of time. Yeah, you understand some of the intricacies of that business because you've done some research. And even if you don't understand, you can now say, okay, I have questions. I saw this in a particular document. What does this mean? How do you do this? So there are many ways to do research, but you can't be afraid to carry out research. You have to like researching things. You have to be you have to want to know the root cause of a problem. Yeah. A lot of us are parents. Some of us are we have we're around kids. A child comes and the child is crying. What happened? This person bit me. And you're like, okay, rather than just saying, why did you beat you ask more questions. So what were you doing when they beat you? Oh, I was doing ABCD. Oh, so what were you doing when that happened? You just keep asking questions, and you now find out that the child was doing something they were not supposed to do, And in order to stop them from endangering themselves, the older person kind of, stop them from doing what they were doing. And because of that, they're crying. So if you just hear the first thing someone tells you and you run off with you don't have the full information. It's the same with the business. This delivery was late. Oh, it's the delivery man. No, it might not be the delivery man. Why was the delivery late? Oh, they didn't really get the address on time. Why didn't they get the address on time? Oh, the system is malfunctioning. Why is the system malfunctioning? Before you know it, you keep asking questions until you get to the real root of that problem. And when you solve that, the real cause of the problem, everything else sorts itself out. So that's one of the reasons why we are really valued in most businesses. Again, I've talked about this. We're not afraid of change. And there's so much more. Okay, so there are many different kinds of business analysts. When you're job searching, this is very important because you're going to see so many different kinds of business analysts. I remember I told you about the definition by the 𝐖𝐈𝐓𝐇 that a business analyst is anyone who carries out business analysis functions or techniques or what they call it, activities. That's what they call it. So you can be in a job with so many different titles, but you're actually performing business analysis tasks and activities. So we're known by business systems analysts, IT analysts, AI analysts, data business analysts, change analysts, enterprise analysts. Where there are some organizations that have product owners who do the job of a BA. You have functional BAs, you have a functional consultant, who also does the job as a BA. So when you're job searching, these things come into play because you're able to, spread your net out wide and apply for a huge range of jobs. Okay. And then so which industries can you apply to as a BA? And like I said, is it a business? If it's a business, then a business analyst can work there. Yeah. I was I'm talking to someone else on the course who is job hunting, and the job she's applying for, she now has a third interview, is a law firm, an international law firm. They're a law firm. They're looking for a business analyst. They're looking for a whole dev team to work on their CRM systems, HR systems, and finance systems. So they're overhauling the whole thing. And they know they cannot do it just like that. There's a process that needs to be followed. So before they even start, let's bring in a business analyst that will, that will be able to gather all the requirements, and then we can start from there. So any business at all, again, that's why the demand for business analysts is only increasing. It never wanes. So insurance, healthcare, telecoms, technology, those organizations that are not don't have business analysts, they're understanding the importance of business analysts now, and they're creating space and roles for business analysts. And if you've ever had a business analyst and you've gotten a really good one that adds value, you always have, in fact, you have more and more different opportunities for them. That's why some organizations have them in so many different change analysts, IT, and they're all business analysts. So it doesn't matter what your passion is. If you have a passion for maybe a non-profit charity, you can work as a BA within the charity sector, or you want to work in IT, you want to work in retail, you want to work in telecoms, whatever it is, you can work there as a BA and you'll always be in demand. Okay, so I just want to highlight some of the value of a BA, okay, because these are some of the things that you're going to have to understand and share when you're job hunting. The reason you're here is because you want a job. That's why you're here. So when you can articulate the value you can bring to that organization as a BA, again, like I said, people will want to bring you in. Yeah. So again, as a BA, we have competencies, skills, techniques, and tools. Okay. So your competencies are what are the knowledge, what is the broader knowledge, attributes, and behaviors that BAs exhibit, or activities they perform, within their role. And it's stakeholder management. we facilitate, we understand systems thinking, decision making, relationship management. I talked about research. What kind of skills do BAs need to have? You have to be an active listener. You have to listen. Yeah, again, facilitation has come in here again. Stakeholder communication. Remember, I know people are coming in, so I'll just repeat some things. A stakeholder is anybody who has an interest in that project. So it can be internal, it can be the customer, it can be the business owner, it can be the regulator, it can be a supplier. Anybody who has an interest in the project you're working on is a stakeholder in that project. So when you understand that, you're able to communicate with them effectively in a way that benefits the business and the project you're working on. I talked about negotiation, problem solving, presentation. Okay. Techniques. So what techniques do we use? Remember, I told you that it's okay if you've never done anything in business analyst. If we tell you that this is the way to go, we'll also tell you this is the vehicle to use. I will now teach you how to drive that vehicle. So come as you are, it's fine. Do you understand? So for everything you're asked to do as a BA, there are methods to analyze. There are methods to elicit, gather information, prioritize, and validate that information. So these are just some of the techniques we have. We are going to learn all of them if you come on, like when you come on, I want to say when, not if, onto the project. So I don't want to kind of just tell you, I just want to let you know that for everything I'm talking about, we're going to, teach you how to do them. We have like full classes and courses, and you have mentors and buddies who will help you understand better. So whether it's user story creation, mapping, Moscow prioritization, process modeling, all of that. Then there are tools that are being used for these things. Okay, so you have Azure DevOps. You've heard about it in the last few trainings you've had. You have Visio, you have LucidChat, SharePoint, Balsamic. All these are tools that we use to do what we do. Okay, so these are just some of them. Again, I just talked about them. We use PowerPoint, we use Balsamic, we use Azure DevOps, Visio, Miro, all of that. Again, for most of them, you already know how to use them. PowerPoint, Excel. We will expand your knowledge in those areas. And for some of the ones that are new to you, Balsamic, Azure DevOps, Visio will teach you how to use all of that. There's some that do the same thing. So Figma, Miro, Balsamic, they're all wireframing tools. You can use them to create wireframing. So you use them at different points. Jira, Azure DevOps, Confluence, they are project management tools. One of the things I really love about BlueSky is that when you have a whole suite of tools, we use the best ones. And I'm not playing. Azure DevOps is the best in the market, yeah. And when you know how to use Azure DevOps, it's like the Bible says, if you're faithful in he that is faithful in little be faithful in much. So if you know how to do the bigger thing, you'll know how to do the little thing. Do you understand? If you know how to use Azure DevOps, which is like one of the most, it's detailed. It has a lot of functionality. So if you learn how to use Azure DevOps, then Jira, you just need to go and refresh your mind on how to use Jira. There are a lot of similarities. You know how to use Confluence. You know how to use a lot of these things. So, same thing with Visio. If you learn how to use Visio, you can use Miro very, very easily. So some of these tools do the same things, but we'll use the best in the market. Azure DevOps, Visio, and Microsoft products. And we all know when it comes to Office and work-related apps, Microsoft, let's keep it there, but they're the best. So that's basically what we use. And when you know how to use them, a lot of the others are easier to use. Now, at the internship, these are just some of the things we're going to go over. Again, I'm going to touch on requirements, elicitation. I'll call it a whistle-stop tour. Very quick class, but you learn a bit more about it. Business process improvement, stakeholder management, documentation, user acceptance testing, root cause analysis, business analysis techniques. You're going to be working within the agile framework. Yeah. Another thing that is very valuable in the market, so you're going to learn about communication. How do you communicate? The last thing looks a bit out of place, which is professionalism. But even in communication, there's a way to communicate professionally. There's a way to collaborate professionally. Even when there are disagreements, there's a way to do it within a team. There'll be disagreements. People will rub each other. Sometimes people rub each other the wrong way. There's a way to resolve all those things in a professional setting, so that when you go into the market and maybe you're the only one who looks like you can fit in. Do you understand? You don't feel out of place because you already know how to relate to people properly. For example, we're all Nigerians. I grew up with yes sir, yes ma. I grew it all the time. In a lot of UK organizations, the chairman of the board, who has been, maybe he's OBE, he's Order of the British Empire, he's been knighted by the Queen. He's just plain old Dave. Hi Dave, how are you, Dave? You don't call him sir, you call him Dave. And Robert and Richard and Joe and everybody else, Amanda, you call everybody by their first name. Interns that start today, they are, Vanessa, plus your boss. Everybody is on a first name basis. So these are just some of the skills you will learn. Okay, research, because you can't, even in the internship, we'll give you the basics, but there's so much to learn. I learned how to research in BlueSky. So when I start working, when they tell me to do something that I may not have learned in BlueSky, I know it's like, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. But if you teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. BlueSky taught me how to fish, so I can go into the market and I find the skills and the knowledge I need, even if it wasn't taught to me here. But by the time you leave here, I'm going to tell you a bit more about it. You're going to be ready for your job, whichever role it is you take. Okay, you choose. Okay, so salary ranges, again, it depends on how experienced you are, and it also depends on location and experience. So and some industries as well. So this is the salary range for a BA, for an annual, for an average BA. So you have from the beginner to the intermediate to the expert or practitioner or consultant. This is basically how much they earn as within the City of London. And finance, tech sectors tend to pay more than some other sectors, but it's usually within this range. So for those who want to improve their lives, I wanted to do that. I wasn't earning enough. I wanted to earn a lot more. It was a driver for me. It was a key motivator for me. So I know that after all the hard work I've done, I'll get well paid for my work, and I am getting well paid as well. Okay, and then when you now add as a BA, you can add other skills. Maybe you also learn data analysis, or you become a Scrum Master in addition to being a BA. You're able to get a hybrid role. So instead of hiring two people, they can hire one person who can do both things and then pay you more. So there are loads of ways to increase your value within the market as well. Okay, so this is just a very quick break because I've been making some assertions and I've been telling you anybody can do it and all these things. So it's like, she's just talking and everything. Let me just use a very quick 5 minutes, I hope, to just tell you about my story as well. So I came into the UK a few years ago on a student visa. I came to do my MBA. I had a 1-year visa. My background is in law, so I loved technology as a user. I had never worked in the tech industry before, but even while I was doing my course, it was a business course, but a lot of people have MBAs. There's nobody, it doesn't guarantee you anything, so I knew I needed an edge. And my sister, a number of people I know are business analysts. I've always loved business analysis, but I just didn't know how to get into it. I watched YouTube videos. I tried as much as possible to learn on my own, but it just wasn't sinking in. I thought it was something I could read and learn and all of that. There was no practical application to it. So I started looking for where I could learn. Yeah. So even while I was in school, I knew that I needed to learn the practical side of what I wanted to do. But most of the things, places I was seeing, they'll tell you come for a 3-day course and will just tell you. I was like, I can watch a YouTube video now. Why are you telling me that is different? 3-day course, and it'll just be in the thousands. There were some 3,000, 5. I was like, what? Why am I going to get this kind of in pounds? Or so I was like, I didn't even know what to do and everything, but I was searching. So I came onto BlueSky's YouTube page, and I saw a lot of videos, and it was like one of these intros. So at the end of the videos, we were like, okay, we have like a 3-month internship and everything. So I was so excited. I was like, this is what I need. I'll learn. I'll be able to work on a project. So I'll be able to practicalize my knowledge, and then I'll get UK work experience as well. Because I wanted to stay back and work as well. So I was so excited. But by the time I sent emails, I was sending emails to admin. I was told that the cycle had just ended and I needed to wait for the other one. It was fine, no problem. I felt bad, but no problem. I've gotten the solution. I joined the Telegram team and I was just waiting for the next cycle. And when the cycle started, I came on and I signed on, and of course I didn't know what I wanted to do and all of that, but I went through all the classes. I decided to take the course and all of that. I asked for discounts and installments and whatever I could do, but I knew this was what I needed to do. And it was such a grueling time, I won't lie, because I had pressure from school. My visa was ending. Yes, I had the 2-year postgraduate and all of that, but I wanted to get a job as soon as possible. So even while the course was going on, I was applying and all of that. So just to short the whole story, I before the session ended, I'd applied, went for a few interviews, and I got a role as a BA. And I got the role, my first job as a BA, I got the role. They were like, okay, so when your current visa ends, what's going to happen? I was like, oh, no problem. I have a 2-year postgraduate visa that I'm going to apply for. So within that time, they were like, okay, fine, no problem. Just come on board and all of that. And they had told me then that students don't get BA jobs because they wanted someone full-time. These guys gave me a part-time job as a student. So they were like, once you graduate, I started in December, although I think I got the job early. I got the job around September or so, and it took a while for them to onboard me. But they were like, I started in December. They were like, come on board. When you graduate in January, then we'll switch you to full time. So I was working 20 hours in a multinational organization. Okay, so this was a really good job. Like I said, I was so glad. I prayed. I don't know how many of you are Christians, but I'm a Christian. I prayed and I got the role. I don't know if did you remembers, one of the prep. I really wanted it really badly, and I got the role. But my story doesn't end there. It gets better. So in January, I was supposed to apply once I finished from school, but for some reason, they told me I won't be able to graduate in January. I'd have to graduate in July, and that they're not able to extend my visa. Then I have to go back to Nigeria and come back to graduate. I was like, what kind of nonsense is that? I can't do that. So I went to my organization and I asked them if they could sponsor me, because although the plan was to switch to a postgraduate visa, I can't do that again. My visa was ending. Remember, I started in December. In January, that same December, that's when I learned that I won't be able to, I'll need to, postpone and all of that. So I went to them again in that December and I asked them if they could sponsor me. They sponsored me. They asked me how many years I wanted. I could only afford 3 years. So I told them 3 years. So they gave me a visa for 3 years. But my story doesn't end there. So by the time I finished, I was grateful. It was a testimony. I was so happy. It was awesome. By the time I started working, I realized that I had come in as a BA, just as an entry-level BA, but I was doing the work and had the knowledge of a senior BA. And I was like, okay, I'm not understanding what's happening here. Because we had a group of BAs in my team. So we could talk together. So I knew what they were all doing and we talked and all of that. So I started applying to become a senior BA. I joined the advanced when the internship. Nobody asked me to join the advanced. I was the first to sign up. I didn't ask for discount or anything because I knew I needed it. I had seen the value of the internship, so I knew I needed the advanced, group course. So I joined in. Sorry, I'll just speed this up really quickly. So I applied with coaching and help, and I can't begin to tell you how much support I had with BlueSky. I applied, and last year, which was less than a bit more than a year after I started, in the organization, I got the role as a senior BA, and I started working. And then they asked me, so what happens after your 3-year work sponsorship ends? I was like, oh, if you guys want to give me 5 years, because after 5 years I can apply for indefinite leave to remain. They're like, okay, fine. We think you should get the 5 years because we don't know why you've only stopped at 3 years. You can get the 5 years. So I applied and I got 5 years. So these guys are sponsoring me all through, and even with the noise that the UK is making, I'm praying against it. They're writing to say it will not change what we're doing. We're still supporting you guys, all of that. I said all that to say this. I came in just like you. I did not have any tech knowledge or experience at all. I worked hard. It's not easy. It's hard. I worked hard, but the support and the structure, I still haven't seen it. That's why I'm here, because I want to give back. I'm someone that doesn't talk. I get really nervous. I stumble my words. BlueSky taught me how to present myself, how to talk through the knowledge I have. And right now I'm leading meetings in the space of a little more than 2 years as a BA. So when some of us come here, you think we've been here for a long time. We haven't. With the projects and the exposure and the support we receive, that's why we're able to do what we do. And I'm a lifer. I can't tell my story without talking about BlueSky and Read Icon. So I'm here for life. They'll call me. It's an opportunity, because I remember when I was like you, not too long ago. It's not 100 years ago. It's a few years ago, so that's my very quick testimony. If I can do it, anybody can. Trust me. The knowledge and the support and the materials are all here. You just have to use it. There's a table of knowledge that has been set before you, but you can take a horse to water, but the horse has to drink. So you can tell I was at the end of everything. So I really needed that. And I was desperate. I wasn't desperate. I was determined. I was very determined. And yeah, so So I'll just end there really quickly. And then just go quickly to the second part of our course today. Don't worry. We'll get to the point where, you ask questions. If you have questions about anything you've heard up to this point, please write it. And then now we're going into some more technical knowledge. I was talking about requirements and all of that. So this is an introduction to requirements elicitation. Okay. I hope you have your glossary and you're taking note of all these terms, because you're going to hear a lot more, industry terms, role-based terms. So just take note of it. And if you have any questions, you need any clarification, there will be a time for that as well. So again, we're going to talk about what requirements are, what requirements elicitation is, what are the techniques. Remember, I told you, if you're asked to do anything, there's a technique for it. So when the apps came, it's like there's an app for it, there's a technique for it, there's a competency for it, there's something for it, there's a tool for it. Don't worry. So let's go. Okay. So what are requirements? Oh, yeah, sorry. And the icing on the cake is that because we have another class next Friday, so there's going to be a take-home task for those of you. You know how they start Mission Impossible. This is the mission. Should you choose to accept it, this is the mission for you. So there's going to be a task. Should you choose to take it up, yes, please go ahead and do it. And I love BlueSky because you can make mistakes here. This is the place to make mistakes. If you're ever going to make a mistake, this is it. No one's going to judge you or anything, but just be willing to do something. So yes, you're going to have a take-home task by the time we're done. And then next Friday, you can share your screen and let me know how you've done, and I can give you feedback. Okay, Cool. All right. So requirements. The technical definition is that requirement is a statement of a need or a condition for a particular service or product that has to be met to deliver value to the stakeholders. Okay? So, when the business says, by the end of the year, we want to have increased our revenue by 10%. How are we going to do that? Okay, in order to do that, we need to maybe it's a bank. Okay, we need an app, where customers can instead of coming into the bank, they can on their phone perform different banking transactions. That way, if we get them to perform those transactions remotely, we'll get more fees and we'll be able to increase our revenue. Great. They've stated what the business need is. What does the business need to do to achieve that, to get that product, to achieve that service, and to do what it is that they want to do? That's basically what it is. That's what a requirement is. You list out everything, the ingredients that are needed for the particular product or service or need. The requirement, it's called a requirement. So it is required. Yeah, if you don't meet this requirement, we will not be able to deliver on your need. Okay, look at the image here as to why projects fail. Now we're all interested in different parts of the tech, different roles. Yeah, but it says here that 15% is poor scope, inadequate risk management, communication, lack of resources, and others. 50% of why projects fail is poor requirements definition. They didn't document the requirements. They didn't articulate the requirements. They did not write down what it is. So they just went and said, oh, we need an app, and they'll just go and design an app. Is that app fit for purpose? Is it what your customers need? Does it integrate with the rest of the business? Is it easy? Are your users able to use it easily? Do they understand? What about the people, the internal staff? Do they understand how that app works so they can even use it or help customers use it? There's so many things that go into making sure that that business need is met and value is delivered. So that's where a business analyst comes in, by finding out. We don't have to know. So even if we go to NASA, the most technical organization or whatever, space exploration that we don't even know, you put a business analyst there, they will start by eliciting requirements. And how do? They go to all the subject matter experts. I'm not an expert, but you are an expert. Talk me through what it would take to deliver on this particular product. And we just document it. That's what we do. You go to another stakeholder. What do you need? You'll document it. Customer, what do you need? Boss, what do you need? Just identify everyone who has an interest in that particular project. And then we go and we get all their requirements, we document it, and we use that as a roadmap for design, for development, and for validation. Yeah? You use that to recommend a solution that is fit for purpose. Because if that solution doesn't meet A, B, C, D requirements, then it's not fit for purpose. If you tell me that you need a requirement A, B, C, D, and the solution only solves A and B, not C and D, then that solution, we can't adopt it. It won't work. It will only meet the need partially, but it won't be a complete solution. Yeah? And then once you've done all of this, then you can say, if we deliver value and we get the IT team to develop this thing that you're asking for, by the time it is developed, it will meet the business needs. It's not rocket science. It's literally just your checklist. And that's what requirements are. So requirements are your statement of need. Someone is actually saying this and this and this is what we need. A BA documents it, prioritizes it. Priorities, how important is it? Which one do you really need? Which is your most important need? Which one is your So we have different ways to prioritize: must have, should have, could have, won't have. So it's like you must have this particular requirement. It would be good to have this other one. It would be nice if we have it. This one is fine. If we don't have it, it's okay. So you prioritize it, and then the IT team is able to assign importance to the different requirements, and they know which one comes first. So they don't start delivering something else before before it is needed. You're able to arrange it or prioritize it. I want to explain what I'm saying, but I'm trying not to use a lot of tech a lot of terms, that might be a bit too technical. So you prioritize your requirements, you use it as a roadmap for design, and you make sure that the solution meets the need. And then that way you can satisfy your stakeholder expectations. Okay. So I love this image. I use it all the time. Okay. It's very self-explanatory, but we're just going to go through it. So it says what I ordered versus what I got. We all know that very important, very interesting trend online. This is what I ordered. This is what I got. So this is the BA version of it. Yeah. So this is what the customer explained that they wanted. Yeah. The project leader understood it this way. This is what the engineer designed. This is what the programmer wrote. This is how the sales guy described it. This is the documentation on the project. See, no documentation. If you want to be a BA, this place cannot be empty. You have to be able to document. No documentation at all. This is what operations installed. This is what they billed the customer, poor customer. This is how the help desk supported it. And this is actually what the customer needed at the end of the day. That's what they needed. They described it in a particular way, but this is what they need. If you had given them that, they would have been very happy. All these things to get from point A to the step 1 to step 10, it's requirements. You need to be able to have the requirements, otherwise all these things will happen, and that's why projects fail. Okay. But as a BA, we make sure that it doesn't. So now there are different kinds of requirements. Okay. There are 4 main categories. We have general requirements, technical requirements, functional requirements, and non-functional requirements. So general requirements are broad needs. Yeah, these are the general ones. You can see the image will also show you some of the sub categories under each broad heading. Okay, so technical needs are what is needed, what is needed from a technological point of view. Okay, functional. Okay, so what features, functions must the system perform? If, for example, you're going onto Amazon, we now do it subconsciously, but when you're in the business, you see how all those steps work. You click on your Amazon website, it opens, and you scroll, and you maybe search for the product you want. You click on it, you see the rating, you see the cost, you see all of that, you select it, it goes into your basket, and then you click on pay now, and then you pay for it, and voila, your package comes the next day, and all of that. There is a method, there is a process that had to be in place for you to be able to do that. That's what a business analyst does. A business analyst understands the process to make sure that it's developed. The development team builds that thing so that the user can have that experience. Imagine if you click on something and keep clicking on it and nothing happens. You have such a bad experience. You won't want to go back there again. So that's horrible user interface. So we want to make sure that when we click on it, the system responds with speed, with enough what do they call it, with enough, the performance is quick, it's easy, it's user friendly. These are some of the things that we write down. We don't develop it ourselves, or we know that there are people that are skilled who can do it. We don't test it. The testers do that. But we write down the requirements to make sure that they develop exactly what is needed. And then you have the non-functional requirements. Again, performance. How quickly do you want, when I click on it, how quickly do you want the site to load? How many people can this site take? If it takes 100 people, it's great. But when it's 1,000 people, then the site starts dragging. It's not able to accommodate that many people. You have to factor all these things in. Remember, I don't have to know it. I just have to know the person who knows it. So I'll go to the person who is an expert in it, and I'll get the requirements, and I'll document it, and I'll make sure that IT team develops it, and we present it, and we deliver value. So you're literally the middleman. You don't need to know the knowledge. You just need to know the stakeholder to go to get that knowledge, and you'll be told who to go to. Don't worry, no one's going to leave you on your own. So these are the different kinds of requirements. Now, in order to get these requirements, remember I told you for everything you're asked to do, there is a technique, there's a process. So it's called requirements elicitation. In a lot of places, you see it as requirements gathering. A lot of JDs, you see requirements gathering, people still use it. It's actually, that was what was being used initially, but then it was thought that when you say requirements gathering, it's like you're just going to gather something. It's just there for you to gather. It's like maybe under a tree drops its fruit, and you're under there, you're just picking the fruit, kind of like thing. But we're like, it's a bit more involved than that. You have to know how to ask the right question, because you can talk to somebody and the person will just tell you, remember the surface requirement, they won't delve in. So you have to elicit. Elicitation means you're drawing it out. You're going to different sources and you're pulling it out so that you're able to get a complete, robust picture of all the requirements. It's not just surface. You want a complete set of requirements. And that's why the language is changing to elicitation. But in a lot of places, you still see requirements gathering. Okay. So it's the process of determining what your project needs. Yeah. And who you need to go to get that requirement. Okay. So it starts by identifying your relevant stakeholders. Remember, I told you that a stakeholder is anyone who has a stake, who has an interest. Again, I love business analysis because the words are self-explanatory. Requirements, it's required. So that's why it's a requirement. Stakeholder, the person has a stake in your business. So the person has an interest. They have a stake in that project. So you have to be able to identify who your stakeholders are, not just who they are, but who their level of importance. Who is important? There's someone who might be the executive in that organization. That person's word goes. Maybe the person is the one sponsoring the project. They're the money backing it. No project you can't have a project without a budget. So this person is sponsoring. They're interested, they're invested in making sure that this project goes through. That stakeholder you have to keep really happy. Yeah. So you have, not only do you have to identify who your stakeholders are, but you now have to understand their level of interest and level of importance or power or influence in that in the hierarchy. Yeah. Then you have to establish what exactly are the project goals. What do we want to achieve? What is the scope? Yeah. Where do we start? Where do we end? Because sometimes people just keep developing. They don't know where to stop. They just develop it. A project has a specific goal. What do we want to achieve? What are the objectives? Then once you identify these things, then you're able to start meeting the stakeholders to elicit the requirements from them. Yeah. And that's how once you understand what the goal is, when they start talking, you just go like, okay, that's great. But for the purposes of this project, this is our scope. This is what we're working with. And because you understand what the goals and objectives are, you can kind of streamline the information you get. Maybe you have a meeting with someone that's about an hour, but you're able to bring out the key things in what they said because you understand what the project wants to achieve. Then you document the requirements. Remember that blank space? It can't be that for a good BA. You have to document. Then you confirm the requirements. Yeah. Again, another reason I love being a BA, the requirements are not my requirements. So when the requirement owner tells me what the requirement is, I will go back to them. You have to go back to them to confirm that this thing you talked about, or this is how I documented it. Is it correct? Is it complete? Is there anything missing? Did I miss anything out? Yeah. Do you want to add anything else? Is it complete? And you get them to sign off on it. Yeah. The project I'm working on at the moment, I came in, I think this is the first project I've ever worked in where I was brought in from discovery. So from the start, they're like, we're interested in doing this thing. We want to do this thing. You start my project manager was away on maternity leave, so it was literally just me and the project sponsor. So I had to start the work, but basically I had to document a lot of the requirements. So I created a business requirements document. I'll tell you a bit about that. Documented the requirements, but each requirement had a column for an owner. So we've now gotten to the point where we want to start using the requirements. So we're now going back to all the owners. There are different sheets. There's the financial requirements, there's the sales requirements, there's security requirements, the data requirements. Whoever is the stakeholder responsible for the data requirements has to look through all those requirements, prioritize them. So yes, this is a must-have. This is it's good if we have this one. It's okay, you can remove this one. We don't really need it. And then when they're done with it, they will send an email saying, I've looked through and I approve. Only when they approve can we use those requirements. Only when they approve. I've had a lot of pushback where they're like, oh, no, just document it. We don't need. I'm like, nope. Because if there is a problem, they're going to ask you, where did you get this requirement from? As a BA, you have to be able to trace the requirements to its origin. Who gave me this requirement? I've had a lot of them ask me the question. IT came, I was like, oh, I see you've documented some requirements. Where did you get them from? And I had to respond to them. Oh, I had some meetings and, blah, blah. I spoke to this particular stakeholder and I was like, oh, okay, no problem, that's fine. Because he wants to know, he's the one that's going to sign off on it. So he wants to know where the requirements originated from. But I told him, these are your requirements. If you need to change anything, add anything, please feel free. These are just, we just use them as a starter before we identify that you are a key IT stakeholder. Now that you're the key IT stakeholder, please review and make sure it's complete and you're happy with it. And then you sign off on it. So you have to be able to confirm the requirements. They're not BAs. We are enablers, but it's not a requirement. Yeah. So always have that at the back of your mind. So these are some techniques that we use for requirements elicitation. Document analysis, observation. You come onto a place and you watch how people do their jobs. Yeah, you have interviews, very common. They'll tell you, oh, this is the person that you need to meet, and you schedule an interview with them and introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Uzo. I'm the BA on the project. Are you familiar with the project, or would you like an overview? I'm like, oh, I've heard a bit about it, but you can go ahead and tell me what the project is about. And okay, we talked about this, blah, 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 blah. And the project sponsor says that you were the SME to talk to in this particular area. Oh, yeah, okay, no problem. That's fine. Okay, no worries. Could you talk me through what your requirements are? And then they start talking, oh, we're going to need this, and this is what we do at the moment, and we want to make it better. We have this application, but it's not really right, so we're looking for another application. And you just let them talk, and every now and then you ask open-ended questions to make sure that you're getting the right information. So that's interview. Sometimes you may have a lot of stakeholders, and to be able to go to all of them one by one it's just a lot. So you bring all of them together in a workshop, and you're the facilitator. You're just like, okay, this is the agenda, this is the purpose of the workshop, this is what we want to get out of it. And then they're talking, and then you're documenting. Remember, you can document it in many different ways. If it's a virtual workshop, you can share your screen, and as they're talking, you're documenting it. Or you can use maybe post-it notes. Maybe you're in a physical place and they're all around the conference room, and someone says something, you can write it down. You can even get them to write it down and put it there. Just if you have an idea, brainstorming, that's brainstorming within the workshop setting. So you're brainstorming, what are your ideas, and they're writing it down. Prototyping is another technique. So these are some techniques for requirements elicitation. All right, let's move over to the next slide. Okay, remember I talked to you about stakeholders, very important. I've explained who they are. So they provide your key requirements. They give you feedback. They support you to make sure that the final solution meets the business needs. So your stakeholders are so important. The second line even says it, we rely on stakeholders. Yeah. You have to understand who they are, and then we rely on them. So these are some stakeholders. You have investors, you have employees, regulators, suppliers, customers, creditors, the staff in the business, so many different people. There are so many different kinds of stakeholders. Okay, so yeah, there are many different kinds. Now, when you have your requirements, you've gotten your requirements, you have to document them. For the internship, we're going to be using the Agile framework, and the Agile framework uses user stories. So once we get the requirements, the way we document them is in the form of a user story. Again, I love being a BA because it's literally what it says on the box, a user story. What does from the perspective of the user? So how will the user interact with this product? Describe the need from the perspective of the user. Okay, so user stories turn requirements into tangible, testable features. Now, someone says, I want a mobile app. Remember, I talked about mobile app. I want a mobile app. What kind of mobile app? How will the mobile app work? When they give you all that information, the software testers, remember, you guys had a course with software testers, and we talked about testing the requirements. These are what they test. When you've documented your requirements and it has been developed, it has to be testable. So the testers will come and test to make sure that what you say you want is what was developed and what was delivered. Yeah, so it's a chain. All these different roles work together. The way a user story works is this particular format, okay, to make sure that it's easy to understand. So it's, as a user, who is the user? Who are we developing the product for? What do they want to achieve? What do they want to do? What's that action they want to do? Or what's the thing they want to do? What's that act that they want to do? So this is the what, so that what is the value? What is the outcome that they're going to get? So that's the user story format. Again, this is a whole course. So these are just sound bites, just to let you understand, give you some insight into, what it is. So it's a very clear, concise, simple documentation of the requirements. You can have a requirement, but you have to break it down into different user stories. So you can have one requirement and it can form one or two or three or more user stories. Yeah, you can, but you basically break it down to the simplest form from the user's perspective. Very simple language, non-technical language, in a way that is very easy to test. Okay, and you have to be able to tie your user story to a particular requirement. All right. So this is the example. Yeah. I know I've been talking for a while. Oh, we may not have time for this. Oh yeah, we might. Okay, so I know I've been talking for a while, but I want your perspective. So I can't really see if anyone raises up their hand. So please, if the admin can help, I'm just going to give you an example and I want you to answer these questions. Okay. So we have a family of 6. Yeah, we have a father, a mother, and 4 of their children. One is a 16-year-old son, a 13-year-old daughter, and 2-year-old twin sons. Okay, they're looking to purchase a family car, and they want to take advantage of the government's electric car scheme. Additionally, the parents have promised their 16-year-old son that after a year, he will inherit the car and they'll purchase a new one for the family. Now, the question is, who are the stakeholders in this example? Just unmute and call anyone out.
I think the stakeholders in this, the father, the
Yes.
mother,
Yes.
and the 4 children, they are the stakeholders. As
Okay.
well as, for now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Anyone else?
I think the father, the mom, and the son, the 16-year-old.
Okay, fantastic. Awesome. I like that view. Okay. Who else has an opinion?
I think it's the father, the mother, and the 16-year-old son.
Okay, fantastic. Awesome. So apart from those ones, can anyone identify any other stakeholders?
Hello. The car company or something.
The car company. Oh, yeah. Awesome. I don't know who that is, but Absolutely awesome. So the car company, the person who is selling, the people that are selling the car are stakeholders. Brilliant. Apart from those ones.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's the father and the mother.
Okay. So we have the father, the mother, the 4 children, and the car company. If you have any other stakeholders, if you can identify any other stakeholders apart from these ones that have already been mentioned, please, I want to hear from you.
The government.
Oh, I don't know who that is, but awesome. You are brilliant. Thank you very much. Why? Let me ask a question, for the person who says the 16-year-old is a stakeholder, the person who said the car company is a stakeholder, and the person who said the government is a stakeholder. Why are those the stakeholders? Why did you call them stakeholders?
Because they all have interests.
What kind of interest? Based on the example, what is their interest?
To allow families to own electric cars.
Which stakeholder are you referring to here?
The government.
Yes. Okay. So they have a scheme for electric cars, right?
Yes.
Brilliant. So that's why you've said they're a stakeholder. Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. Who said the car company is a stakeholder? Can you tell me why?
I did. The electric car company, they are stakeholders because they have a business to run. They have the cars to sell. So they are very much involved. Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Fantastic. Who said the 16-year-old son is a stakeholder?
Yeah, he's a stakeholder because after a year, he's going to inherit the car. So he has a stake in the car.
Fantastic. Absolutely awesome. Now, who said the daughter and the sons are stakeholders? The 13-year-old daughter and the 2-year-old sons. Who said they're stakeholders?
I did as well. Because
why are they stakeholders?
Because they are going to benefit from the car.
Okay, fantastic. Now let me keep you on the line and move on to the second question. Knowing that they are stakeholders, what would you say some of the requirements would be for this particular purchase?
To be able to take advantage of the government electric vehicle scheme.
Okay.
To be able to have a family car.
What would you say the requirement is?
I would believe make it affordable for a family to be able to purchase.
Okay, so the government has a scheme. Yeah, there's an existing scheme. What would you say the requirement is in respect to that particular scheme? If you were saying that we need to take into consideration this scheme in order to get the car, what would you say the requirement is? What do we need to do?
We'll have to find out exactly what the scheme is about.
Oh my goodness. It's like business analysis is in your blood. I don't know who you are.
I have identified it already.
Absolutely awesome. Fantastic. Okay, so let's identify some more requirements. If you know them, shout them out. Try not to repeat what someone else has said because there are a lot more requirements. But if you know them, just shout some of them out. Just a few of them.
I think you have to learn to be. You have to be a driver. You must know how to drive.
So who does that requirement apply to?
The 16-year-old son
and
the parents.
Fantastic. So those are the 3 stakeholders that particular requirement applies to. Brilliant. And next requirement.
The exact electric car that's gonna suit the family itself.
Fantastic. So we have a family of 6. So we have to get an electric car under the government scheme that can take that entire family. Brilliant. I like that. Any others?
There also has to be the ability to purchase a new car after a year.
I don't know who said that. I can't see your name, but you are awesome. You have to have the money. It has to be within your budget. You can't just go out and say, oh, because, I need a family car, blah, blah. If you cannot afford it, it has to be within your budget. So you have to have a requirement is how much are you willing to spend for this awesome car you want? One more. I want to see if someone else can get a particular requirement that has to do with a very yeah, just one more requirement. Let's see if someone can get one more requirement. Anybody? Okay.
Yeah,
I think
the family personal information is also important. Where they stay.
Oh, you're awesome.
Or the size of the car.
Yes.
So you're seeing all the things that are just coming out now. Because if you stay in a place that might not be conducive for an electric car, how far? Your car you have to be able to charge your car, right? How are you going to charge your electric car? Your environment, where you stay, your landlord. Maybe your landlord doesn't allow you. You want to add maybe an electric charger port at home, and your landlord doesn't allow you. How about that? Like, that when you identify who the stakeholders are, the requirements are easier to understand. Okay, now just two, based on what we said about the user story formats. Can two people just give me one user story each? Just try. You know the stakeholders, you know the requirements. Can you give me an example of a user story based on those two things?
Manufacture a car.
Yes, so remember the format we're working with as I want, so that. So who is the user? You identify your user. I want, what's the requirement? So that, what's your outcome? So that's your format for the user story. So in order to do that, you need to know who the stakeholder is and what the requirements are. So we've identified stakeholders, we've identified some requirements. Now, can anyone give me an example of the user story using that format? Just two people.
Okay, as a father, I would like to purchase a family car, benefiting from the government's electric car scheme. I also want to be able to pass it down to my son and purchase another car in a year.
So you've identified two. You see, there's one requirement, but then you've broken it down into two user stories. So as a father, I want to purchase an electric car so that I can take my family from point A to point B. That's one. Very simple. As a father, I want to purchase an electric car so I can give it to my son in a year or something. So that's the second one.
Yeah, I want to say this as well.
Okay, one more user story.
As a 16-year-old son in the family, I want to inherit the family car after 1 year, so that I can start driving on my own independently without the family having to buy a third car.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. So that is a brilliant effort. We're going to have to, when we talk more about user stories and the structure and all of that, we will refine that. But you guys get the general idea. Yeah, you get the general idea. You're going to have a class just on user stories on their own. You're going to have a class just on requirements on their own to tell you how broad these topics are. So I appreciate that I'm squashing everything very quickly. And based on what you know, this is very, very, very commendable. So absolutely awesome. Again, brilliant effort. Thank you so much for your participation. Let us go quickly to our demo. So now at this point, I'm going to call on my mentor, and the person I learned from. She's very, very graciously agreed to act as the stakeholder in our demo. We're going to have a practical elicitation process. It's going to be interactive. Okay, so we're just going to talk through. We're going to see what it looks like. Just one example of what it looks like. Okay, so Bolu, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Thank you so much. Hi. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. Okay.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So this is Bolu Komaya, but for purposes of this demo, she is a stakeholder that I don't really know. We don't know each other. We're just giving you a demo, okay? So hi, hello, Bolu, how are you doing? Thank you for making time to meet with me.
Hi, Isa. Thank you so much. I'm glad you invited me to this meeting. I've been looking forward to it all week. And yeah, just seeing where this meeting is going to go and how it's going to go and the results. I hope to get something really great, tangible from this.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so could you just give me like a brief overview of, the project and what you want to achieve?
Yeah. So, I have a product, right? My website, what I'm trying to achieve is, you know how now AI is really a thing, and I noticed that I need a live chat or a bot chat to attend to my customers, because what I'm noticing is that my customer service are kind of overwhelmed with inventory questions about, like, for the frequently asked questions. I think AI can help with that. So yeah. The project is an e-commerce business, and it's an e-commerce shop where users can purchase clothings, different clothings, different from adult to baby, whatever you're looking for, you find on the website. However, is beginning to get really overwhelming for my staff and plus inventory and all of that. So I'm looking on leveraging on AI to help out with some of these things, like the virtual assistant integrated into my system.
Oh, that's actually really cool. A very innovative idea, a very good use of AI now. Okay, so can I just ask, do you already have a website, an existing website? And if so, how old is it?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I do have a website, and my website is going to like 5 years now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And at the moment, what services do you provide on your website?
Okay, yeah. Like I said, it's an e-commerce website where you can, like, you shop on the website. So customers come to the front end, they see the product that they like, they select the product that they like, and then they pay. So we have a payment service integrated into the website, and I mean, um, I don't know. Maybe you can have a look and advise about the user interface, but for now, I think it's good.
Okay. So what are some of the common issues that your salespeople encounter that you'd like the bots to replace, to help with?
Yeah, like frequently asked questions about delivery, because at times people are not so patient. Is on the website already, but at times when money is involved, people get really agitated when they don't get their stuff, or how they can return stuff that they don't, maybe is smaller or it didn't meet expectation, because we allow that in the company for you to return a product that did not meet up to your need, or you're not satisfied by it, although terms and conditions that apply to that. But things like that, very frequently asked questions like that. Those are two that are coming off the top of my head, but I know that as we go along this requirement sessions, I'll have more. And But these are major issues that can be really overwhelming for my staff. And that's not to say that there wouldn't be human interaction, but I just really want to cut down as much as possible the time that my staff would spend on talking to people when there is AI that can do that, especially for frequently asked questions, you know what I mean, and increase efficiency and productivity, because I don't want to leave any money on the table.
Okay. And you want to integrate this virtual assistant onto the e-commerce website.
Yes.
Okay, that's fantastic. Can I just ask, apart from the frequently asked questions, would you like the AI to maybe do some other rudimentary tasks, maybe like making recommendations and maybe some other things, or do you strictly want us to start with the frequently asked questions and maybe expand a bit later?
That's interesting. I've not really thought about that, but yeah, I mean that would be a really nice feature to have. But my goal right now is to, because that's my most pressing need, and maybe as we go along in the project, yeah, I can also have that, like those suggestions, which would be really good. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the AI virtual assistant interface, can I ask, do you want it, how would you like it to interact with the customers? Do you want it in chat form, or do you want voice, or both?
I think chat will be better for now. Let's see how that works. And because I don't want, at the same time, I really still want it to sound as natural, because, I've been doing some research and I see how generative AI is going now. So it can mirror the human voice, kind of. But I'm talking about during the chat, because I feel like chat has a voice, text messages has a voice. So I don't want it to be too robotic, if you get what I mean. Yeah. So let's start off with the chat and see what then happens. But if there's, if there's a way to develop it so that it can respond with very natural human voices, I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, let's start off with the chat first.
Okay, that's fine. Yes, there actually is a way to train the AI in a way that it responds, especially if you're referring to frequently asked questions. I think we can train it on how to respond. If you already have, okay, so for that, again, because we want to train it in the voice that your customers are used to. So do you have data on previous interactions with the customers, so we can use that to actually train the AI? Is that something you have, or?
Oh, yeah, I can check. I can check with my team and then get back to you on that, if that's okay.
Of course, that's fine. So I also want to ask as well, I know you have an e-commerce site, but do you have any other presence, like a physical store or mobile app? Like, could you just tell me a bit more about the business, and if the virtual assistant is just going to be on the website?
Yeah, we do have a mobile app, and it's basically an e-commerce website. We don't have a physical store, however, we have warehouses.
That's good.
Yeah, so we have warehouses, no physical store.
And you want the virtual assistants to be on both the website and your mobile app, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, that's fine. Could I ask again, what is it going to do? You already have a presence, so the app is going to be in the brand of your business. Are you looking to rebrand or maintain your current branding, fonts, colors, all of that?
Yeah, that's why I said it would be nice for you to take a look at the website and probably advise, because for me, I feel like the user interface is fine for now, but I mean, you're the expert, so you could just have a look and yeah, I kind of trust your judgment on that.
Okay, that's fantastic. So can I ask, so for your customers, you said that you sell baby clothes and adult clothes,
Mm-hmm.
or do you could you give me like the range of the type of customers you serve? All ages or
Yeah,
specific
the
ages?
the demography, right?
Yes, the customer profile, yes.
Zero to teenage years.
Okay.
So I mean, yeah, from age 0 to those, I mean, the category of kids, and for adults, we focus more on the 18 to 40
Okay.
demography, 40, 45. Yeah, so those are the kind of clothing those are the demography we cater to.
Okay, that's fantastic. So, at the moment, can I just ask, do you your data? Again, I know you're going to ask, obviously, but I just like to find out, do you currently have like a customer relation management application that has record of all your customers, or is that something you'd like to introduce?
Yeah, we do have on the back end side,
Very
I
good.
believe. So
Okay.
I could check with our IT team to see
Yes,
how that
please.
going. Yeah,
Yes,
how
please.
that is going. Yeah.
Because that would be something we would need to incorporate if to make this work. Okay. And another question I was going to ask, like, what area do you service? Just the UK, or are you international?
Yeah, it's an international business.
Okay, what countries do you serve?
US, UK, Europe, like the entire Europe, North America,
That's
and
awesome.
yeah,
Okay,
those are the major countries.
fantastic. Okay, and then for the virtual assistant, what languages would you like us to start with? English, Spanish, like what languages are you looking for, since you have an international presence and a multilingual target audience, I believe?
Yeah. So English, UK, US,
Okay.
French, Spanish. I think those should do for now.
Okay.
And then we can expand as we see the interaction go.
Okay. That's fantastic. So the team that you're talking about, can I ask what size, how many members, the number of your team? So we'll know those that we're going to be working with internally.
Yeah, we're about 3,000.
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay. Okay. Can I ask as well, what your timeline is for the delivery of this project?
As soon as possible. So yeah, I want to like yesterday, if that's possible.
Okay, I understand that, obviously, this is a major business need. But if we can get a team working, I mean, when we get a team working around it, would you be open for us to let you know what what a practical timeline would be? Because obviously, I understand that you want it urgently, but we will need some time to deliver it. So if we can maybe take this away, like this was our first meeting, but when I'd like to get back to you on, a timeline, a
Okay.
potential timeline for delivery as well. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine by me.
Fantastic. And then regarding the budget as well for the delivery, do you already have one, or?
Not yet. So I feel like when we have this discussion back and forth,
Yes.
yeah, we can then come to something.
Okay. Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, like I said, this was an initial, meeting. Obviously, you mentioned that you wanted this project, so I wanted to have a bit of an idea of the project. But I think we'll definitely need to have additional requirement elicitation sessions, most likely with some of the key members of staff. I'd like to talk to people in your customer service, marketing, security, data, some of all those people. Can I reach out to you just to set up additional meetings with you and probably include them as well? Because I think there's some technical questions. There are some technical questions we'll need to ask them as well.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Just put something in my calendar and I will extend the invite to them.
Fantastic. And then I will go back as well and present this to our team, and then we'll come back with not just additional questions, but also an idea of some potential solutions, applications that we can use. Once we get all the requirements, then we'll be able to recommend some applications that meet those requirements and show you a practical timeline for delivery, as well as a recommended budget as well. But I think we're going to need to have a few more of these meetings to have a better understanding of what your needs are.
Okay.
Fantastic.
All right.
So I'll definitely be in touch with you just to, schedule additional meetings as well. But thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. I know how very busy you are running a multinational organization, so I appreciate the time, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Thank you so much, Uzo. It was really nice talking to you.
Same here.
Do have an amazing time. And yeah, I look forward to the email and the invite for the next meeting.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that is a practical demo of an elicitation session meeting, first one. But obviously, depending on the project, it differs. But just to show you, practicalize some of these things that I've been talking about, okay? I think we are almost done. The last thing we have here is your take-home task. Like I said, this is your task should you choose to accept it, okay? I'm going to leave the screen on here for a bit in case you want to take maybe like a screenshot. But again, I'll make the text available to the admin, and then they can share it with you as well. But I'll just read it really quickly, okay? So it says, a local grocery, something like Tesco Express, is launching an online ordering and delivery service to address the growing need for convenient shopping. The platform should allow customers to browse inventory, place orders, and schedule deliveries via an easy-to-use mobile responsive interface. The leadership team expects the service to be user-friendly, secure, and scalable, with its performance evaluated after 3 months. Your tasks are: 1, identify the stakeholders in this example. 2, highlight the requirements, okay? And 3, or document, I won't say how, document the requirements. And then 3, write the user stories from this example, okay? And your bonus task is to research and create a glossary for yourself. So research one, look at all the different templates that are available, select one, and start populating it with all the things that you're learning in these 2 weeks, the things you've learned before, the things you're learning now, and the things you're going to learn going forward. At our next meeting in a week, if you are willing and able, I would like for you to share your screen, and we'll talk through these tasks. Just share your screen really quickly, maybe just 2 people. Share your screen. I'll give you feedback really quickly, and that way you can practicalize a lot of what you've learned, because you've gotten a lot of information here. It'll just enter one ear and come out the other if you don't practice. The only way to retain the knowledge you have is practice. You won't be perfect from the first time, but you get progressively better. Before you know it, practice, as they say, will make perfect. So these are your tasks. Again, pause the video, take the screenshot of it, but I will still send the screenshot and the task later, and it will be shared in your hub as well. So this is the fun part. If you have any questions for me, now is your opportunity to ask me any questions you have. And then
For example, if any recruiter calls you, you have help, you have access to mentors. Even if you feel like you did not respond well in the first time, you can always run back here and say, oh, this person, the recruiter asked me this, and this is how I responded. And your mentor can jump in and say, okay, next time when you receive this kind of call, this is what you should say. So you have two advantages. You are under less pressure and you are learning. If you get a job while you are still learning, that means you are getting paid while still learning. So I always advise, start from day one. Build your CV. Take every opportunity to build your CV. They are transferable skills, whether you like it or not. Whichever role you decide to go for, they are transferable skills. You are not coming in empty as you think. You are not coming in as empty as you think. You have transferable skills that you can transfer and build your CV and submit to recruiters. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Ezekiel, how was that? Did that answer your question?
That answered it. But a follow-up question to that is, fine, if I'm going to start applying now from day one, I know I don't have the experience yet. How do I go about the issue of the CV? Can I make a CV and show it to the mentor so the mentor can help out at the beginning, or do I have to wait to the middle of the whole thing, or do I have to just do my own CV on my own, and then maybe later the mentor can look at it later?
Okay. So I'll just mention something. I think maybe if the admin will also want to chip in, because I think this is part of that. So part of the benefit of the internship is going to be interview prep, CV review. So this happens regularly every week while you're on the internship. So it depends on you. Honestly, there are many of us who got jobs before the internship was over. It depends on what is driving you. But there are support structures within the internship that would help you if that's where you want to go. If you want to show your CV from the first week you sign up, during the CV review, there are ways to upload your CV and get people and get mentors to review it as well, give you feedback, show you how a CV, an IT CV is usually constructed, and then you can use that to obviously build up your CV and all of that. So yes, those that support is available within the internship. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I hope that helps. I saw some additional questions. You're very welcome. I saw some additional questions. So I'll just quickly run through them. Unless the people who ask them want to ask them. I think Tyrell, your question is, can Tableau or Excel be used to carry out research as an analyst? It can be used to document. Yeah. Tableau is a visual, it can be used to display data. So if you have data and you want to present it in different, I think you had a session yesterday with Tableau. So you saw how data was presented. That's how you can use it, when you want to present data. Excel, same thing. You can use that to document maybe your requirements. It can be a work tracker. You can use that to document things, not necessarily for research, unless there's an Excel document that they are giving you as part of the documents for the project that you want to use to learn about the project. That's also the same as well. So yes, they are also tools you can use. Okay. How long have you been practicing? Is this for me? For me, like I said, I got my job in December 2022. Yeah, that's a little more than 2 years. Yeah, just 2 years in December. So 2 years, 2.5 years. And I was still in my internship when I did that. So, and that was my first BA job. Although I have had work experience. Like I told you, my background is in law and I've worked in several different places. So from the knowledge I have regarding business analysis, I was able to present my CV in a way that I was able to highlight the business analysis activities I've been doing all this time. But when it comes to actually practicing as a full-time BA, 2.5 years. That's basically how long I've been practicing. Did I have job support? Yes, that's why I joined the advanced team, because I had just gotten my job and I knew that I needed support. So I quickly joined the advanced team after the 3 months was over, and I was able to remain in the community. We have a business analysis community where every BA who is in the advanced team is there. We have regular knowledge sharing sessions. You have questions, you have an interview coming up, you need support, you need help, you need to learn. We do our certifications there. Many of us learn, practice regarding certifications, all of that. So there is a huge amount of support there as well. What are the chances of getting a sponsored role? If you need it, the chances are again, I got a sponsored role. So again, there are people who don't need sponsored roles. I needed one and I got one. So it's dependent on you. This is an individual thing. I know there are a few of us here together, but you came in here individually. You know what is driving you. You know what your needs are. If you focus on it and you do the work, everything you need to get what you want is here. I got it. So, I mean, if I did, then I think you can too. Okay, stakeholder responses, that's fine. Coming back from work, okay, fine. I think I've answered all the questions here. If there aren't any other questions, if there are there any? No? Then I'm happy to hand over to the admin team. Thank you so much. I hope you all got value from this. And thank you for listening. Thank you very much. Juliet, over to you. Thank you.